Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I have a new poll today. The poll today is about the one story. And I have the one story is in everything, only in a few movies, non-existent, and I don't know what you mean. I'd really appreciate it if you participated in the poll and in the chat. If you're new here, I talk about decoding one story, the one story throughout the entire universe. And I talk about how it's revealed through movies mostly, and news events, and TV shows, and your own life. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But I want to understand what your perception is. Do you know what I'm talking about or not? So if you're here, hello, Joyful. Hello. You got a number one crown. So yeah, the reason I want to talk about this is because we were talking in today's film discussion group. We were talking about Poltergeist, and one of my members was saying how he's blown away to see this story played out in everything. So I'm still blown away by it too. Every time I look at something, it's not that I'm not expecting to see it. It's that I'm blown away by how it's presented and how I discover it and how it's embedded in these movies and TV shows. And it's wonderful when it's revealed to me. So if you're here, say hi, let me know you're here, and participate in the poll. I'd love to know what you think. So yeah, this Universal One story. Hi, Mary. We got another number one crown. Awesome. So yeah, the reason I started talking about this back in 2020, I think it was 2021, must have been 2021. I started decoding in 2020, and then there was the candle factory collapse, and I believe that was 2021. And that video is on my second channel. If you're not aware, I have two channels on YouTube. The other one isn't active anymore. Excuse me. It's not active anymore because the reason I had it was because this channel was in danger due to the censorship during the Biden era. So I was concerned that if I started to post these breakdowns of news events that were controversial and getting attacked, that this channel was at risk. So I put them on a second channel. That's True Love 2. Links are in the description box if you're not aware. But my news story breakdowns, a lot of them are there. One of those news story breakdowns was the one story collapse. And that happened as a result of decoding this candle factory collapse. And that's when I figured out the one story and how everything is collapsing into one story. So yeah, it's fascinating to me that this information is revealed through decoding, through looking at these events, these news events, particularly like that news story about the candle factory. Really was a strange story. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but there was a series of tornadoes through Middle America, and this candle factory collapsed due to these tornadoes. And in Poltergeist, there was a tornado as well, which also ties back to the Wizard of Oz. And this tornado represents the center vortex, which is also the umbilical cord that connects us between worlds. And so anyway, yeah, once you understand that, you start decoding things, and the first thing is like the universe. What is the meaning of the universe? How do you break that down? What is it? why is it called a universe? Does anybody know why it's called a universe? What does that mean? You want to break it down in the chat? And then you realize what's going on here, and you find the patterns. And this is another thing, like, quite a few decoders are popping up lately, and some have been around for a while, but most of them don't pass the level of just making connections. They recognize the patterns, but that's it. They don't actually decode. Pattern recognition is not decoding. It's pattern recognition. It's a step towards decoding, but it isn't decoding. But, it's nice to see that there's a lot of people out there who are recognizing these patterns and recognizing the infrastructure. There's an infrastructure that we are in. And several of these shows, movies has told us that we're inside of a TV show. We're inside of a movie. We're inside of you can even say a video game if you like, but it's like this pre-constructed story. And this is the story that we are part of, the grand tarot play of life. So understanding that this set infrastructure, this is something that you have to participate in while you are here. You can't escape it while you are here. And a lot of people, they ignore it because they're not aware of it. Like, how can you understand that you're in a story or a movie or a game or a TV show unless you're aware of it? So Uni-Verse, I am the word, the code. Yeah, Uni-Verse. It's also a couple other things. But thanks, Joyful. Yes, it is Uni-Verse. And so yeah, like this story has been revealed to me through decoding multiple movies. I think I've decoded more than, I don't know, 200 movies or something by now, and countless episodes of television and news stories, and one verse rhythm. Yeah, one song. Yeah. So like the song and the rhythm and the verse is the song, but the verse is also frequency. That's the up and the down, the ebb and the flow, the duality. It's the dance between the dualities. So, I mean, even when you start breaking down words like this, like single words, and you start breaking them down, you can find so much in them once you know how to do it, because like the letters mean something, and you understand this from looking at Hebrew and Greek, and each letter has meaning. And Elder Futhark, like all of these letters are actually symbols, and the symbols hold meaning, and each one put together creates a word. But in every letter having meaning and putting them together in every word, it in itself is a sentence. And I'm sure you've heard of the sort of play on words of the sentence. Like, sentence is also a synonym, or it's also used for being sentenced to jail, or getting a sentence like a death sentence or some kind of punishment. So once you start to see the other meanings or alternative meanings for words, you start to see the dimension contained within a word. And this is the play on words. And that's what etymology does, is it shows you the play on words. It shows you the hidden meaning behind the use of these words. So, hello, Reverend Galileo. I'm having trouble breathing. I don't know why, but yeah, I got to slow down because I'm trying to catch my breath and it's not working. But yeah, if you're here, say hi. Let me know you're here. Participate in the poll. We got 11 votes and it's in everything. Well, that's pretty awesome. So is that because I told you, or is that because you know? So 12 votes. This is great. It's great that you all know that it's in everything. URC, hello. Nice to see you. Hoyas. I think you're a new commenter, new subscriber. If so, let me know. I haven't seen your handle before, but it's nice to see you. So, yeah, it's like, so breaking down the words, like if you look at Hebrew, each letter holds meaning, and some people are also interested in breaking down words into their individual meanings behind the letters, which is pretty tough business. But you also have, if you're going to do that, you have to be mindful of the context in which it resides, because if you're going to break down the meaning behind the letter has context within the word. So as soon as you put the letter next to another letter, it's the combination of the two letters you have to take into consideration, not the letter in isolation set next to the next letter. And a lot of people also use gematria, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'll use it modestly, but there are some benefits to using it. I usually lurk. Well, I'm glad that you're not lurking anymore. Indeed, joyful spelling. So letters and words, they cast spells. And when you complete a sentence, you're sentencing yourself to the spell contained within the sentence. You're putting a sentence, basically creating a jail cell for yourself, or a torus, a story in which you reside, because you have sentenced yourself to that statement. So a statement, you could also say, is a state of mind. You have stated your mind. You've made a statement or declaration, and everything that you speak into existence. You're speaking from your heart, hopefully. But a lot of times we're speaking from ignorance. We're speaking from our ego, and we don't even realize what it is we're saying. We don't pay attention. There's so many people are unconscious. They're not consciously aware of things that they say. And this is part of what we have to get back to, is being conscious of what we say. Because a lot of people don't even think that there's any value in words. They don't think that words hold any meaning. They don't think words hold any weight or significance or impact, but words create. So we have to understand the significance of words, what they actually mean, what they represent. Now, you don't have to get down to the nitty-gritty of every letter, but I find it's fascinating when you do, because it just reveals the depth to which each word and what it holds when you do that, like with Uni-Verse, like we just did. Word magic is my favorite topic, but people in my life don't want to know or hear it. Well, of course they don't, because it's not left brain material, is it? So if you try to tell people that words cast spells, they have to understand the mind world connection. If you don't understand that your thoughts create, in a sense, like you are creating from who you are, but also the words you speak and the words you speak to yourself helps to feed that loop of who you really are and who you are being. It's a product of who you are being. And so the essence of who you are, those words come out of you. But when you interact with somebody, your words carry weight. You will say to somebody, "Hey, you look great today." Whether and sometimes people will say it and they don't mean it. And then other times people will say it and they do mean it. And sometimes they'll say it and they mean it too much, you know? So it's like you're expecting something in return. So the the essence of what you're saying behind the words carries this need for reciprocity. And then if you say it and don't mean it, then that sort of negativity is also carried in the weight of the words. But then also if you say it and you mean it, then that's also carried in the weight of the words. So it isn't just the words themselves, but also the intention behind it and how they're received. So it's fascinating stuff, but most people don't want to understand that there's a creation element behind it. If somebody speaks words to you and you believe them, that's a spell cast on you. If you don't believe them and you reject them, that's a spell cast on the person who said it. So, yeah, it is so fascinating. And we're creating stories all the time, and we're captured in the story that we create. We're creating a story based off of who we are, and the words are also part of that creation. So, we got some comments here. Wookie, hello, howdy. How's your gardening going? Joyful, we are taught there is no word magic, only the physical. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Great point. Yeah, because we have to be taught that, because otherwise the secret would be blown. A huge part of recognizing that this world is not just physical is knowing this mind world connection. And if you're not aware of it and you think it's just physical, that part of it is hidden. So that's again part of the spell. So what we're doing here by exposing the multidimensional meaning behind words is breaking the spell. So quite a few people don't like, a lot of people don't like Barbie, but a lot of people do like Barbie. But Barbie has a lot of truth in it, a lot of metaphysical truth in it. And in Barbie, she and the other Barbies went around breaking the patriarchal spell just by speaking the truth. That was it. That's all it requires. And that's what we're doing here. When we discover the truth and we speak it out loud, we're breaking the spell. And a lot of people are under the spell of believing the physical is real, and also believing the lies that we have told ourselves, the lie that we live in, the lie of the infrastructure that we're living under. That's a spell. So a story is a spell. Does it have to be one story? Could it be optional stories? What do you mean by optional? The game is like an open sandbox with many stories or missions to do if you want. Also, players make their own stories. It doesn't matter. All the stories are one story. It doesn't matter what story it is. It's all one. Every single movie I have broken down, every single event I have broken down, every single thing that I have seen in my own life and broken down, it all comes back to one story. It's only one. No matter what it is, you can't get away from it, because if you look at this from the perspective of, if you make you get a huge roll of fabric and you make 15 shirts from that fabric, they're still made from the same fabric. So this is the same thing. This world is all coming from one source, which people refer to as God or source. And so everything is a fractal of source. So every single story is a fractal of one story. Joyful. And now we are in a world of words are violence. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like that is weird. It's like you're not allowed to say anything without people getting offended. But this is a huge topic in itself where, words are swords. Words divide by their very nature. By using a word, you're defining something, and so you're separating it from other things. So words are swords, and it's also an anagram for swords. But they're also weapons, so use them wisely. because you cast a sentence on yourself. You put yourself in a story or a torus, and you're stuck in that story until you break the spell and you get out of it and you create yourself another story. But the people who get offended, they're the ones who are telling themselves a story as to why they should be offended. It's not necessarily, I mean, sometimes the words are, you're responsible for what you say. You are responsible for what you say and how you behave, but the person on the receiving end is also responsible for how they receive things and what they take them to mean. And so it's like a two-sided interaction, of course, right? You're not responsible for something somebody else says. It's there as a mirror to tell you something about yourself. URC, all the stories combined are the one story. Not necessarily. All the stories are the one story. There are some aspects of different stories that contribute to deepening and making the story richer and in more focus, but it's still all the one story. There's only one story. It's like holographic. No matter how you cut up a hologram, you get the whole picture inside the hologram. It's there. So you may not have the complete picture in every movie or every story, but you get most of it. It's there. Damn, I picked the wrong answer. I picked in movies. That's okay. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about like what do you see? Like where are you at right now? It's totally fine. And it's not about right or wrong. But funny emojis too. But it's okay. It's like, at least you're seeing it. You're seeing it in movies. Where are we at here? Steinwin's Fractal Jesus story, pretty much. But it doesn't matter what you pick because it's all the same story. That was a tricky poll. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you thought it was tricky. Infinity, definity, definity. That's cute. I like that. Joyful. Political correctness is also a tool of control. Better stay quiet. Don't use your voice. Don't speak. It might hurt someone's feelings. Oh, totally. Yeah. It's like if you can't speak your mind I think part is, again, like everything, there's a paradox here because on one hand, it's helping you to stay mindful, use your words wisely because words are swords, words can hurt, and being mindful in the words that you use and how they might be received is important. However, it is also, on the other side of it, a control device to stop you from expressing yourself freely and authentically. But at the same time, like, you have to be, because most people are not conscious about the words they use and the weight they hold and the weapon that they're wielding that has a potential to hurt other people. They're not mindful of what they're saying, and they're not mindful of how it could be received. We need this in place to force us to be mindful. And at the same time, we don't want to be policed in this way because, again, it's more control. So, if you look at it like boomer generation, my parents' generation, they were able to say all sorts of things, with all of like the things that people find super offensive today. They were spoken freely and sort of water off a duck's back type of thing. And now we're being told that certain words are offensive. It's like the number of different words that have been used for, say, certain groups of people or certain, especially people in defining people we've been told that those are offensive. So first they'll tell us, well, that word is offensive. Don't use it. Use this instead. And then a few years later, we're told that that word that we're supposed to now use is also offensive. Use this instead. So what that sounds like ultimately is, if every word that we use to describe that group of people is offensive, are you trying to tell me that that group of people is offensive? Well, how are we supposed to interpret this if we cannot give a name to a group of people? So more and more, we're constantly told what's offensive and what's not offensive. And so people now interpret that as permission to be offended, whereas before they weren't offended. So they're being told that they should be offended, which is another spell. They've been put under a spell by being told that you have to be offended by this every time somebody says it. So now it's a trigger for you. And it's getting ridiculous. It's like you have the power to decide whether that's offensive or not. And certain people will use words on purpose to be offensive and to offend you and to hurt you. Steinwitz, we are the fractal tendrils of reality rendering subjective experience. That's what I put in the description of my YouTube years back. It's very poetic. Yeah, it's very poetic. So they have been changing the meanings of words and trying to erase old meanings. Have they? I know they've been adding new meanings, but I wasn't aware they were trying to erase old meanings. But I can see that in some sense, that they sort of fall away, because there's certain words that when I'm decoding something and I use etymology to decode words, there's certain words that have very strange meaning that doesn't seem to relate to how it's used today, which I find fascinating. I'm always blown away by some of these hidden meanings that come up through this process in discovering how the word used to be used, and it just seems to have been lost or fallen away, and then it evolves to be used a different way. And there's a lot of things, like even the word cool has been turned into this sort of really nothing, like empty meaning. I don't even know what the word is. Just like an exclamation of just, wow, I like that, or that's interesting, or that's fun. And then every generation, there's some kind of word that comes up to fit in that category, like, ooh, groovy. In Back to the Future, he used the word heavy. I don't even know if that was a thing. I think they were trying to make it a thing, but maybe it was a thing. But he used the word heavy, and even, Doc was like, why do you keep saying heavy? Because that just sort of shows the demarcation of the gaps between generations. And I think, language evolves, and also, but every meaning that's attributed to a word does fit the word. It is not possible, just as it's not possible to create a story that is not made out of the fabric of this reality, that is not the same story. It is not possible to create words that don't hold meaning that is tied to the zodiac. It's not possible. The way that we create words has meaning built in, and we cannot create words that don't make sense. Even nonsensical words actually have solid meaning behind them when you break them down. I don't have any examples, but there's like the nonsensical word that comes to mind is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even in that nonsensical word, there's actual real words in it, like super. So I tried to play this game with a friend of mine where we had to make up words on the spot, And even then, you're still using fragments of other words to build these words. And then we were trying to say, okay, well, if I make up this word, you tell me what it means. And the fragments of the words are what dictates what the word means. So you can't escape it. You can't just make words up out of thin air and have them not mean anything sensible. Where are we at here? Natalie, what do you think about TikTok? I've just recently joined and it's not what I expected. What did you expect? What are your thoughts of TikTok? I think it's another cesspool. I mean, I like it to some extent, but I don't like it because there's, I don't know, maybe it's just my feed, but there just seems to be a lot of negativity in there. I've started to even just not watch it anymore because it's full of people with like sort of negative opinions, mostly about the opposite sex. That's most of what's on TikTok at the moment. Again, it could just be my feed because there's other stuff that I was watching was like law of assumption material and some other like positive stuff. But even that got on my nerves. And, you know, there's some silly nonsense on there. I like the funny videos. Those are good. But even like some of the sense of humor, I don't really get it. I don't really get that kind of humor. It's not my kind of humor. I'd like to hear what you think, though. It's a mix of things I got from Fractal Brain Theory and Soundless Dawn YouTube channels. I'm not familiar with them, but in Liverpool, UK, we say heavy in a slang way, meaning that's deep. Yeah, that's kind of what was meant by heavy in Back to the Future. Slidelbaum, Liverpool, in it. In it, mate. Like as an inmate. Well, in it is like it's a conjunction between isn't it. Natalie, I thought TikTok was for people who lip sync music and danced. Yeah, I think it used to be. But what did you find that it is now? Because what I liked about it is that this is what I like about social media in general. I like getting a pulse on where people are at and what's happening with the masses. That's what I like. I like seeing that people are waking up. I like seeing their personal stories. I like seeing, real, genuine human experience. That's what I like about social media. What I don't like about it is how there's now a lot of CGI, AI, a lot of people who are just pumping out commercials all the time. People who are faking having a genuine story just to promote some product. It's like, I don't mind if you have a genuine story and you're promoting a product organically, but if you're faking a story as if it's real and trying to get people to believe you so you can sell a product, that's manipulation, and I don't like that. But there's a lot of, I mean, I think this is also representative, this is a little bit off track, but I think it's also representative of what's going on in the world right now, because people are waking up and people are angry and upset and hurt by the truths that they're faced with. So a lot of people seem to be going through this separation of either divorce or separating from your partner and not wanting to date. And that's a huge topic of conversation, especially on TikTok. And while I'm fascinated by it, I do find it is toxic. I do find that level of conversation is only digestible to a point just to get the information. But the people who are steeped in it are not moving past it, and it's not healing and it's not healthy, and they just want to finger point and blame people. And that's from my perspective, it's not healthy, but it's also fascinating to see that this is where people are at, to understand where people are at. That's what I like about it. But after a while, that negativity starts to seep in, and I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. I don't have any social media, only YouTube. I love watching content on YouTube, Sidle Mom. It has everything, even though it's heavily censored after 2020. I love YouTube. I really do. The only thing I didn't like about it was the censorship. I really didn't like that, and it still has issues with censorship, but it has less. And I also don't like how the algorithm works for people. I also don't like how big channels are promoted based off of, bots and manufactured clicks, and basically they're pushed forward, and then the small people get drowned out. And there's a lot of stuff I don't like about YouTube, but I don't consider YouTube social media. Even it's a different kind of platform, although it is social media. But I also really love that it's accessible, that people can get on here and share their stories and share their authentic selves and their lives, and be open and expressive. And you get a window into real people in their lives. I mean, maybe some of it's obviously curated, because people are not generally going to share like a lot of ugliness, and that's fine. But some people do. Some people get on here and they're confessing things, and they're being raw, and they're, talking about all sorts of negative things that people normally don't discuss, which is, I think it's healthy, simply because we have brushed all of this under the rug for way too long. And some of this information needs to be released. People need to know about it, which is why this is what I find healthy about TikTok, and the people talking about, like the 4B movement, or separating from partners and why they're separating, and patriarchy. I mean, all of that has to do with patriarchy. I find that part of it healthy. It's staying there that's not healthy. It's finger pointing that's not healthy. Naming the illness is healthy. Stepping out of it and getting into a different territory and having a different life, that's healthy. Staying in the illness is not healthy. I found that people show their vulnerable side, but there's a dark side to it, because there's a lot of people exploiting their disabled children as if it's a ticket to wealth. Oh my goodness, really? Yeah, that's not nice, Natalie. Wookie, YouTube is still my go-to, but I find the algorithm lately is getting more negative, and it's promoting a sense of hopelessness. Oh, is it? Okay. Wookie. Yeah, I cleaned out my feed recently, because there was a lot of stuff I didn't want to listen to anymore, so I just cleaned it out. But I have a very small core group of people that I watch, and they're mostly vloggers, and I don't really feel the need to listen to very much anymore. I'm kind of past the point of digging and researching and all of that stuff. I only do the research from decoding. That's where I get my information, period. I don't feel the need to listen to people anymore. Certain channels are being pushed heavily. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always going to be that. There's always going to be agenda pushing and stuff. It's like last week I was talking to you about the car guy, and many of you said that you saw his video in your feed. Well, that's not by any coincidence. I mean, goodness gracious. I had maybe 4 or 5 people say that they had that car guy video show up in their feed. And I'm guaranteeing you, none of us watched car videos on the regular for it to be pushed into our feed. So it wasn't the car, the fact that he was a car guy. It was the subject of his video that was being pushed, because they want us to see it. And what is the car guy doing talking about that stuff anyway? It's just kind of strange. So yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that's being promoted and being pushed on purpose. And again, getting back to the one story, and this is the 911 trauma center, the fear factory, and the ascension process, the awakening process is all part of that story. All of this is part of the unfolding of that one story. So, we're part of the wordplay, play on words, grand tarot play, and this is just part of what's going to happen in the revelation stage of that story. And then there's BitChute. Yeah, I have a channel on BitChute and I don't really use it either. I was using it during COVID and such because my videos were getting taken down. I don't particularly like BitChute. BitChute is basically full of conspiracy-minded people. So, I don't really like the atmosphere over there. It's very fear-based and very kind of dark and negative. And, my content is not that. So it's kind of hard to get anywhere over there. So yeah, I'm not really active, but I do have a channel on BitChute. It's called True Love. I think I renamed it True Love Canada, but it was True Love Realm Life. Anyway, link is in the description as well if you are on BitChute. Well, we have 22 votes. This is awesome. So the one story is in everything is 95% and only in a few movies is 5%. Well, this is awesome. So I hope that the 95% who said that it's in everything, you're saying that because you know it, not because you're trying to be right. Because like I hope that you're saying that because you know it and you've seen it. But if that's the case. But yeah, it's totally fine if you've only seen it in a few movies, but it is in everything. It is in everything. Literally everything. It's hot in here. Laguna Primer 777. Is this kind of Mandela effect? Here today, gone tomorrow, i.e. the lions lay with the lamb? I don't do Mandela effect. I don't believe in it. I don't agree with it. Natalie, I made a whole YouTube account because the algorithm seems stuck in the past when I unsubscribe to things. Well, that's interesting. Well, yeah, like I have unsubscribed to a lot of things. I've even removed them from my feed, and then months later they've popped up again. It's like they want to push it and bring it back or something, and it's like, no, I'm not interested in this. Get it out of here. I don't want to see it. And yeah, so I don't really understand how YouTube algorithms work, and thankfully I don't really need to understand it. All I need to know is some basics of how it works from my end. But yeah. Whew, I'm getting hot. So yeah, anything else you want to talk about the one story? Do you have any questions about it? But basically the one story is derived from the zodiac, and everything comes from that one story. It's mapped out in the stars. And I talked about this, I think it was last week. But I have also talked about what that one story is in several videos. And we're basically living that one story out again and again and again. And that's the one story that is present in everything and present in your own life. And that's what we're uncovering through decoding. And in decoding and revealing this one story, we are collapsing the illusion that there's any more. We're collapsing the multi-story building because there is only one. And the more that gets put out there, the illusion falls, because all of these iterations of other stories is the illusion. It's a distortion. It's a slight distortion of the one story. So, and I'm talking about like the popcorn level presentation of any movie is a distortion of the one story. But then when you decode it, you find the one story, which is the through line in everything. And that's what we're getting to. So it gets to the point where that's all you see. So the popcorn level is the distortion. It's why you think that there are many stories. Did you do a decode on that Truman movie? Oh, the Truman Show? No, I haven't done a decode on the Truman Show. I might do one. I did take excerpts of the Truman Show and put them in a montage to explain the nature of reality through using film clips. But I did not break down a decode of the Truman Show specifically because everybody has done it to death, although my perspective would be different. So I just I have stayed away from movies that have been done to death. I just felt like I would rather do something else. But decode some of the things like The Matrix, and I know a lot of people wanted me to do Donnie Darko, but also like The Truman Show, some of the more obvious ones. So I don't know. We'll see. Hello, Cosmic Hillbilly. Welcome. Cloud Atlas is a great example of reliving the one story. Yeah, I broke that one down some months ago on the live chat. If you want to go see that breakdown. But yeah, that's an example of the one story for sure. Joyful to be here. Ecclesiastes 1:9. What has been will be again, and what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Oh, thanks for that. That's a good quote. It's funny because when I started on my truth journey and I was looking into the past, and I was going to look at like history, Egyptian history, Sumerian history, like trying to go back to, I think it was during my phase of researching the origins of the Bible. And so I was going back to Sumerian and Egyptian history. And in doing so, it just started to collapse on me. And I thought, what's going on here? I'm reading these stories and they're being repeated. And as I'm reading them, they don't feel like they're in the past. They feel like they're now. So that was a weird experience. Now I understand why I had that experience. But if you go back and you read, even in history, multiple stories, like there's a reason why people like Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great have very similar stories and have called themselves Jesus, is because their stories are modeled on his story, because that they are the reincarnation, or that is their archetype. So they're playing out that story again. So not everybody plays out literally that story, but those people did. And there's several other people who play out that story, literally play it out. But even in that sense, there's a unique element to those people which separates them. Alexander the Great separates from Julius Caesar. But you can start to see the patterns. Again, pattern recognition is not decoding. It's an aspect of decoding. There's also with Jim Carrey. Oh, my connection's unstable. Yeah, that movie is 23 with Jim Carrey. I did see that. There's also a movie called, I think it's called 20, is it 22? Where there's flashbacks in time, and he's able to see into the future, and that one's heavily coded as well. Like some of these films I don't decode because, um, I can't decode everything, but I do pick certain stories that I feel are worth, diving deep into. But yeah, like I've seen so many movies that are, on the surface. Like a friend of mine, a member, she mentioned this movie that's on Apple TV that had to do with the pyramids and such. And there's some esoteric wisdom in that, but I'm not going to decode it just for that small part. I might talk about that small part, but there's so many things that I've watched that I have found some really fascinating details in, but doing a detailed breakdown about the whole thing is not worthwhile. I prefer movies like Under the Silver Lake or Don't Worry, Darling, where there's so much in it and it's so fascinating that it's more rewarding for me. However, even in our film discussion group, we've decoded movies that on the surface don't seem like they have anything. Even today, we did Poltergeist. And on the surface, there were things that popped up. And I know that the story is in everything. And that I know that, I have made the mistake before where I pass things off superficially because, oh, it doesn't look like there's much here. But every time I dig deep, there's something there and there's something rewarding there. So even if I did go back and do that pyramid movie, I'm sure I'd find something rewarding in it. It's just, I have to pick. I can't do them all. It takes a lot of time and effort and energy to decode movies like that. So yeah, every movie has had something in it. We've decoded movies randomly. We randomly pick things and you think that there's not going to be anything in it, but there always is. And some of them are really heavily coded, but on the surface, you're like, this doesn't look like there's going to be anything in it. URC, an odd movie that needs decoding is Mropia. I've not heard of that. What's that? Mropia was too weird for me. Couldn't finish that movie. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a movie that somebody has already recommended to me or not, but I know there was another movie that I started watching. A viewer recommended it, and I was like, "No, I can't do this one. It's too weird." Like, and sometimes movies are they're just boring and they're slow and they're too painful to get through. So there's plenty of material out there that I don't have to go and look at everything. Hi, I break down subject creator difference and I'm cautious when spelling. What do you mean you break down subject creator difference? When going through Awakening, Dark Night of the Soul, my ex stayed at old frequencies. Yeah. So, when we're talking about the stories we tell ourselves, while untethering our entanglement, there was about a year where I became subject to her because she knew my deep thoughts, ideas because of our time together. I feel like there's more to come here. She used my truths along with her twist and shared it with her family. I see. So, yeah. So she's twisting the truth to suit her to make herself look good. Holographic reality favored her outcome, not mine. Well, it's always working in your favor. So all you have to do is find out how it's worked in your favor. So one aspect is that you saw a side to her perhaps you didn't see before. And that's helping you in your own life and helping you in your own reality. And so now you make it work for you. So I had been powerless until undoing old contracts, declaring my sovereignty, and gained creator status. So yeah, like that's part of what that was for you. It was helping you to realize where you were powerless and then take your power back. Because if she had the power over you to do that for you or to you, then you were handing your power over to her. And so now if you're taking your power back and she doesn't have power over you, you now recognize that that was the benefit that was coming from it. So everything is working in your favor. You just have to be able to see how. And because when you're making out like the thing that happened to you is horrible and evil and nasty, then you become victim to it. So you are being, you understand being standing under that authority. That story has power over you. So you take your power back by finding the positive in it and how it benefits you. What is coming from this that helps me? And it's always for your highest and greatest good, because that dynamic isn't serving you, or not necessarily the person, it's just the dynamic, the way you interact with each other. And so you need to recognize in yourself how you're perpetuating that story by being powerless, and then taking your power back. So it sounds like you've already done that, which is great. But yeah, like these things that happen to us, if you continue to tell the story about how she weaponized against you, and that it favored her over you, it didn't favor her over you, favored you over her, because it's your story. You are the center of your world and your universe, and you are the one who interprets how that unfolded, and you interpreted it that she won, but you actually won. So how did you win? Because it's always in your favor, no matter what it looks like. If it looks like it was weaponized against you and it didn't, turn out the way that you wanted, why didn't it turn out the way you wanted? Why were you holding on to an outcome that you didn't get? Do you really need that outcome? Is the outcome coming and this needed to happen in order for you to get that outcome? So you have to examine it from the perspective of, okay, this is always working out for me. How did this benefit me? How is this good for me? Because it has to be, because it's your story. So don't hand over your power to someone else by making it their story, and you're just a secondary player in their story. Take your power back. It's my story. This is happening for my benefit, and this is why it's happened. So now I've learned from it, and this is what I'm going to get as a result, or this is where I'm going to go as a result, or the person I'm going to become as a result. So that's great. Oh, we got 25 votes. One story is in everything is 96%. Only in a few movies is 4%. So yeah, that's pretty good. 25 votes is awesome. Cool. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for participating today. Some excellent comments in the live chat. Thanks for participating in the poll. We had quite a lot of participation today. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, liked this video, appreciate that. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Have a nice day.